Why do you think it's important to stay calm in any situation? Well, it's because that's when most of our mental tools are available for use. Because when we are feeling stressed, our brain cuts access to our reasoning and the problem solving parts. And that's not really good for giving our best, is it? So let's see quickly how to stay calm in any situation so that we can show up with greater resilience and confidence and handle situations more effectively. Now, even though connecting with another person is critical for us to be mentally healthy, it's also one of the things that creates a big chunk of our problems, like what and how and why someone says anything can make us feel happy or unhappy in our relationship. Doesn't matter whether it's personal or professional, and sometimes they don't even need to use words. How someone behaves with us can sometimes say loads without even using words, doesn't it? And it's natural to feel angry when the other person is blowing up or saying things that are irritating us. And the best thing in the moment feels like giving them back what they are giving out, right? But that's really ever helpful, whether it's the way the situation pans out or how we feel coming out of it. Because when we get angry or even feel nervous, it triggers our stress response, which then limits our access to the creative, the problem solving, and the reasoning part of our brain. That's why it becomes so tough to think clearly or even be willing to listen to the other person. And it's easier to stay calm in an argument if you know how to control the heat, know how to diffuse the situation and turn it into a conversation. So never say calm down. No one likes to be told how to feel because that hurts our sense of autonomy, which is one of our core psychological needs. So keeping the focus on the things we can control. Intentionally keep your voice and your pace of speech as normal as you can, because the more normal you sound, the more in control you will feel. And then when putting forth your point, say, yes, maybe you are right, but, and then say what you have to say. It shows that you have heard them and think they might have a valid point. And so what you have to say next comes across as another possibility instead of saying, I'm right, you are wrong. Because sometimes all the arguing person is looking for is for us to acknowledge the possibility that they might be right. But sometimes people come with their own ideas about what they want from us or want us to do or want us to make them feel. You know, the situations where it feels so unfair or unkind that you simply want to ask, where is this coming from? And what helps keep our cool in these situations is to remember that not everything needs a reaction, because not everything is about us. Because it's easier when you are calm to either realize how much value that relationship has for you, and so how much effort are you willing to put in to keep it going, or to figure out the most dignified way of ending that conversation. But whichever the case, using more I sentences instead of you sentences helps manage the situation better. Like instead of saying, why are you being so disrespectful, saying, I'm not feeling comfortable with this, sounds far less aggressive, doesn't it? It turns the heat down while clearly getting your message across. Any situation that makes us worry, makes it difficult for us to focus on anything or even to sit still, means we need to calm down, because a calm mind works way better every time, no matter what the situation. Because it's then when we have the most clarity about what's really happening, what are our options, and what else can be done. It cuts down confusion. Demanding tough situations can make us feel overwhelmed or frustrated, and even though it never really helps, giving up starts to look like a very good option, like when facing a very tight deadline or doing what needs to be done, even though it's the very last thing we would have chosen to do. If we can stay calm in those situations, our chances of still giving our best becomes really high. See, focusing on the problem is what stresses us about tough situations in the first place. Like, how am I ever going to handle that? And then all the what if this happens and what if that happens come rushing into our mind. That causes cognitive overload, leaving very less energy and even mental space for us to figure out a solution or find what to do next. So the first thing to do is calm down physically, get out of that anxious and stressed out mode, right? So do a physiological sigh. It will calm you down, relax you very quickly. So whenever you are feeling stressed, do a double inhale and a long exhale. Like inhale, inhale, then exhale the double. The double inhale inflates those little lung sacs better. So when we do a long exhale, it rids our body and bloodstream more effectively of carbon dioxide. See, we know that stress can change our breathing and heartbeat, right? But the opposite has also been proven to be true. Changing our breathing and heartbeat can also affect how we are feeling. That's also one of the reasons why they say breathe whenever someone is feeling anxious or stressed out. It calms the nervous system down. Follow every what if this happens with a if this happens, then I will do that. Because even if we are unable to find a convincing solution, the simple act of thinking intentionally to sort through the options or thinking creatively to connect the dots will shift us out of the primal mode, which is where we are when feeling stressed, and shift us into the prefrontal cortex, the creative and the solution finding part of our brain. And also, finding a tentative action plan tunes down the what if thoughts and makes us feel more confident. And confidence is what helps us approach any situation with a calm mind, because we feel like we can handle anything that comes our way. Psychologically, the action plan seems like a solution, and it closes the worry loop in our brain. And to stop unhelpful thought patterns from affecting how confident we feel, like this happened to me last time, so I might mess up again. Think of one thing you can do this time to stop that from happening. Then say, this happened last time, but I will do this now. You know how this works. The word but has a way of tuning down the importance of whatever comes before it. Worrying that things might not go as planned or turn out the way we want them to can make us overanalyze everything. It creates a pressure on performance, and so we start to overanalyze everything, trying to make them as perfect as can be to minimize the chances of failure. But explicit monitoring can actually be counterproductive because it creates stress, which lowers cognitive performance. You know how golfers who focus on following the technique to a T usually end up messing their shots? It's called choking. So knowing how to stay calm in any situation is a coping skill that can exponentially improve our chances of succeeding. And if it feels like everything's going wrong or nothing's working, then make a list of what specifically is going wrong or what specifically isn't working. Because wide sweeping words like everything and nothing have a tendency to blow things out of proportion. So when we make a list, it not only limits the number, but also thinking intentionally snaps us out of the stress mode. And if thoughts like, I can't do this, is adding to your stress, then cognitively reframe the situation. Come up with a productive, I can do this instead. Whatever feels closest to whatever you can do. Because how to stay calm in any situation is a lot about keeping our focus on what we can do, what's our priority, and what's our responsibility or not. And even if you do mess up, realize that no one wakes up with the idea, let me mess things up today. We all try to give our best to whatever we think is right. So if some mistake is stressing you out about how people might react or what this means for you going forward, use second position of perceptual repositioning. Think, what would you advise someone you care about who is in the same situation? This helps step back emotionally from the situation to be able to see more clearly what our options really are. By switching from the primal, the stress mode, to the creative and the solution finding part, we are able to look at the situation more constructively. Even though it comes in a very crappy packaging, failure is always helpful feedback because it shows us what's not working and where we can skill up or get help. But if the thought of failure is stressing you out enough not to make those choices which are really good for you, then this video over here shows how to stay calm when making choices and how to stop holding yourself back. I hope you found this video useful. Take care, and I'll meet you right over there.